Hey guys, how you doing? So here we are finally shooting the Keto Gains intro to bench press video. I know that there's a lot of interest in learning how to bench correctly and or more efficiently, or for a better max, or for better chest development, or whatever your goals may be. So I thought I'd throw this little intro video together. I know I quite often see a lot of questions on setup and leg drive. So I'm gonna try to focus a lot on those and help get you guys pointed in the right direction. So just my background, I'm a keto-adapted athlete. I've competed in world competitions and PR'd while in a state of nutritional ketosis, and well, hopefully with these helpful hints on your bench form, you guys can maybe compete too, or not, maybe just for regular old gym bro benching. Up to you. Either way, all this information should help. So much like I started with the deadlift intro video, I like to break down benching into two hemispheres, okay? So the upper hemisphere and the lower hemisphere. Bench pressing is a full body exercise. Don't let anyone fool you. And if you're not using your whole body, you're really missing out on some pounds there. So from the belly button up, much like the deadlift, I like to tell people to pull their shoulder blades together and then tuck them in their back pocket. What that does is set you up for an arch to get on your trap. So what I'm saying is pull your shoulder blades together and then tuck them in your back pocket. Because actually what you're going to be doing is benching or sitting on your traps. It is not efficient to be in a flat back bench. Some people will argue that you don't get as much pec development, but I would call BS on that. And you can scroll down through my Instagram pictures and you can see how concave my chest is from years of arch benching. Anyway, joke, tongue-in-cheek. So anyway, so I'm going to go over the setup. I'm going to do a setup and then we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about it a little bit, okay? So first we're going to be, like I said, pull your shoulder blades together, tuck them in your back pocket, and then we're trying to get our feet back because we're actually going to use some leg drive too. And I'll break this down section by section and then I'll keep covering it over and over again. So shoulder blades together, tucked in your back pocket. That's what we're going to do on the bench. And I actually slide back underneath the bar and set my feet. This will help you get into a tighter arch. And from there, I roll forward, actually up onto my head. And I think I just lost my mic. Oh, I did. Sorry about that, guys. Let's reapply. Anyway, I arch back. I actually get up on my head, the top of my head, and then I fall down into my arch. Now you're going to ask, is it good to have your feet up or is it good to have your feet down? If you actually plan on competing, you're going to have to check your federation's rules. So if you're APF, AAPF, or USPA and some of these other federations, they let you keep your feet up. If you're IPF, USAPL, they like to have your feet flat on the ground. You can be effective with both and still get leg drive both ways with a couple of tricks. But anyway, tight arch. And like I said, I roll through, plant my feet, arch back on top of my head, boom, down onto my traps, holding that arch. Leg drive is going to be feet, heels down, and then forward to the front of your shoes. So what I mean by that is, for your leg drive, you're going to get back into that arch and you're going to push your heel down. And once your heel's down, you're going to slide to the front of your shoe. What that actually does is drive you back into that arch, okay? Get you tight on your traps, helps keep your arch up even tighter. Another thing that's often missed is you're trying to drive your heel out. That'll help plant your hips down low too. It'll help keep your butt on the bench, which is very a common rule in a lot of the powerlifting federations. Your butt has to stay flat on the bench. So heel out, heel down, and then drive to the front of your shoes, almost like you're trying to slide the stall mat out from underneath you. You see a lot of things mentioned in leg drive, like I said, and those are three components of it that will help get your hips set and help keep you tight in your arch and help push that bar off your chest. All right, so I thought I'd shoot just one more little section on what I was talking about on leg drive. So when I said heels out, down, and forward is what you're trying to do. So you're setting up on the bench, you're getting your foot up, turn it, push your heel out, push it down, and then push to the front of your shoe. That'll help drive into the front of your traps. Got it? We got a tight arch. You got our feet planted. Let me see if I can get back into form again. through, up on your head, down, adjust your feet. Now if you're depending on what federation or if you care or not, keep your heels up or slide them so they just barely touch, so you can drive them out and down and through the front of your shoes. All right, so that being said, that's how you set up, that's how you get tight. I'm going to move the camera over because the next question is going to be, hand placement. Where should your hands be? And quite often, that's another thing too. You don't want to be too narrow, you don't want to be too wide. What you actually want to be is at a good position to drive off your chest, okay, with that tight arch. So let me move the camera around so you can see where my forearms range on top of that, all right? And we'll also talk about bar torque. All right, guys. Okay, here we go, guys. So we're going to talk about a couple of things here, breathing, and when you're creating torque, and the angle that your forearm should be at the bottom of the bench. So what you really want is you don't want them, you don't want them too far in, so you're pushing in against your wrist, and you want them too far out so that you're actually, way out here and you can't drive off, because you want to be able to push forward. Because there's a couple of things that you're going to be paying attention to here. One is, so you're creating torque at the top, which means you're turning into your pinkies, much like we did in our deadlift. And you're going to come down through this range of motion till it comes right below your pec line. Okay, so right below your pec line, just like this. And the whole time you're actually going to rotate your elbows in, or fight to rotate your elbows in as you're coming down. And here is the angle that you're concerned about. You want them straight up as possible, which means straight like this, or maybe slightly out, so you actually can create a little bit of torque and push out up against the bar. And as you come up through that motion, your elbows are going to rotate out. Another advantage to help shorten your length of motion is a big deep breath. So if you get set at the top, you got your shoulder blades pulled together, tucked in your back pocket, you've created torque. Huge breath, as big as you can. That'll help inflate everything, so it's actually going to shorten your range of motion. Okay, so you're coming down, squeezing those lats, squeeze those lats as hard as you can. And what I mean by that is it's almost like you're doing a seated lat pull. Okay, so as you squeeze those lats and you twist those elbows in, that'll actually give you something to push off of at the bottom. It's almost be like backing up against the wall, creating torque, and then pushing someone away from you. That's exactly what you're looking for here too. So you're going to create torque, boom. You're going to take a big deep breath. You got your shoulder blades pulled together and tucked in your back pocket, right? So you got that arch, you got your leg drive, you got your heels turned out, pushed down, and you're sliding them forward so it jams into your traps. Take that big huge breath, come down right between your behind, or just below your pec line, squeezing your lats, and then boom, leg drive, and everything's going to come together and you're going to push it up. So I'm going to get back into my position from this angle so you can see it. Sorry about crotch cam, or you're welcome, depending on the situation. And we'll take a look and see what that looks like from this angle. So coming back, pull myself through, set my feet up on my head, down onto my traps, slide my feet into position, turn my heels out as hard as I can, drive them down, push forward, out of the rack, create torque. Traps are pulled together and tucked down. Big huge breath. Jam your heels down even more, brings your chest up even more, down, 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 just below pec line. Boom, right back to the starting position. Boom, right into the rack. All right, so big deep breath. Pull your shoulder blades together, squeeze your lats on the way down, just below pec line. Boom, push back. Don't forget your leg drive, turn your heels out. Like I said, benching's a full body exercise. There's a lot of things to consider. At the bottom of the motion, you want your forearms straight or turned out just a little bit so you can drive out. And that should help you get a lot of power off the bottom off your chest. You should be able to pop just about anything off there. Then work through that range of motion, screwing those elbows out at the top. Okay? Something to be careful of at the top of the bench is when you want your rack height at such a situation, such a height, that once you're up in that form that you can pull it straight out, or if you have a lift-off partner, he can bring it straight out to you. Because if you have to go up and out and down and set up, you're never going to get as tight as when you start in that position. So be very conscious of your rack height. And if you can get J hooks that have a real low profile like we have on this, more power to you. I see a lot of commercial gyms have a lip like this. I have no idea who that's designed for. That does you no favors, because now you're getting all set up in your form and you got to go up, lose your form, and then boom, try to come back to it. if you're competing or trying to go for a max effort, you are never going to get as tight as when you can just come straight out or have your lifting partner bring it straight out. It's actually better off maybe to be a little lower so you can stay tight, or have a partner lift it off for you. All right, guys, so one more little section, we're going to talk about angle, and then that should cover everything. Then fire away the questions. What I was talking about, pushing the bar back. Okay, so the reason being is that you're going to start with this bar over the top of your shoulder. This is your shoulder, this is your arms, this is the top of the bar. So if you're a raw bench presser, your pyramid or your triangle is actually going to be a lot tighter than if you were, say, like a shirted or a equipped bencher. So I just thought I'd show the examples of both. So if you're coming down with your bar path, you're going to come down right below your pec, because that's where you're going to push from. You're not going to push so your arms are weighing out like this. You're down like this from the bottom of your pec up and back to where the bar starts. Okay, there's an advantage to that, is because you're not pushing directly into gravity, which actually is kind of like the leg press. I mean, you notice there's a huge difference between how much you can squat and how much you can leg press. This is one of the differences, is the physics of it. For those of you that are shirt benchers, you actually can get away with a little more of an angle, because actually coming to the top of your belly because of the compression shirt that you're wearing, or your bench shirt that you're wearing. But you actually want to move that bar pass at a slight angle. And like I said, don't over exaggerate this. This is the bottom of the pec line maybe, or for your girls, maybe just the bottom of your bra strap. And drive it back to where your starting position is. That actually gives you an advantage, especially when you have your leg drive and you're pushing into your traps. You'll be able to come back and at an angle. Okay? Just a little helpful hint to help illustrate that. Thanks, guys.